need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Need to Know Pod with your girl Chef Sahera, where we are serving up all things culinary as well as some delicious conversations. In today's episode, we are talking about something that I find to be very, very important in the culinary world, and that is food safety. So as bakers, as chefs, as people who are home bakers, I think food safety is so important, and that's what we're going to dive into today. So today we are discussing Boar's Head and the fallout with Boar's Head and everything that they've been going through. So if you aren't aware, stick around because I'm going to tell you what Boar's Head got going on, and you may want to reconsider. I know I will, eating Boar's Head. And the second food safety topic will be discussing a restaurant in Houston. And I'm just, my heart goes out to them. Let's say my heart goes out to them. And that is the Turkey Leg Hut. So for all you people who, you can Google them and you'll find information on them, and lines are wrapped around the corner, but they shut down this past weekend. Yeah, this past weekend from the health department. So that's what we're talking about today, food safety. I believe that food should be safe for all. And I believe that you should train your staff to be safe. So if you don't know anything about me, know that I have labeled myself a food fanatic, food safety fanatic. So just bear with me. So I am very particular, but I do, when I do go out, I would like to ensure that, or knowing that my food is safe. So let's get right on into it. So let's talk Boar's Head. So Boar's Head has been in business for over, 100 years? 100 plus years, right? They were established here in Brooklyn. So when I say here, that means New York City, but they've been established for a very long time. They make, I'm going to say, roughly $1 billion annually. And so for let me just back up a little bit. So at the end of July, Boar's had a recall on a lot of their products, their deli meat products, because of the outbreak of Listeria. Listeria was found in their liverwurst. So after further investigating, they had stopped production in their facility. But in the meantime, so first it was just the liverwurst products. And then they expanded the recall and put quite a bit of other items on their list. A lot of their hams. I don't eat pork, but I know that the turkey and chicken wasn't on there, but I wouldn't eat it now anyway. But nonetheless, so they recalled over 7,000 pounds of deli meat. But with this Listeria outbreak, there has to date, if last time I checked, let me just say that 9 people have died from the outbreak. 9 people have died. When it first came out, the supermarket around here in this area, Stop and Shop, had closed down like a lot of their deli departments to do a massive sanitation of their deli department. So Listeria is a bacteria. Those who are at risk are pregnant women, the elderly, and people with compromised immune systems, like kidney transplant patients, right? And speaking of which, my sister had a kidney transplant, and so she's very conscious of what she eats. So once she had her transplant, as she was recovering, I stayed with her in this I guess it seemed like a little hotel, but it was a house. It was a home. It was a house for the transplant patients and their families here in not here in Philadelphia, but it's in Philadelphia. They might have changed the name, but I think it was called like the Gift of Life. And we were able to. They fed you, but you were able to have access to their kitchen, to their refrigerator, everything. So I would prepare the food for my sister, and we even had gone and taken a trip to the supermarket so I can make sure she had the food that she needed. I always remember Listeria is connected to lunch meat. when I first started diving into food safety, when I first started learning about food safety, that's the one thing I remember. I don't ask me why or how, but I always connected. First of all, we had to get tested on it. So that was my connection to it. So she was told that if she had lunch meat, that she had to make sure it was heated up. So she couldn't just make a regular sandwich. And that's just something that stood out to me. That's what I'm connecting to, right? That's someone with a compromised immune system. So, or transplant patients, right? Compromised immune system. But so that's something that they told her. Like make sure your food is heated up. So anyway, so with that said, Boar's Head had stopped production in its facility. And this particular facility is in Jarrett, Virginia. So over time, now people are suing. If you Google Boar's Head, you will see that law firms are offering their services for people who might have suffered from listeria. Well, the illness is listeriosis, right? Because of the listeria. So, and it actually, the stories that I have read, people didn't get sick right away. What was discovered, and just as I'm reading the information, and this is not something that was made public a year ago or even 6 months ago, that the facility in Virginia was actually disgusting. They had over, I believe it was like 69 violations, health violations, anywhere from mold on the wall, the fan blowing with some mold black stuff on the fan dripping onto the product, to the bathroom had meat under the sink, pools of blood on the floor, just very dirty conditions. And I'm actually outraged and incensed that they were able to operate. So now, actually, as of September 13th, I believe it is, they have officially, or they said they have closed that facility indefinitely. They have closed that facility indefinitely, which to me is like, people had to die before you took that that measure. What I want to know is who is responsible for the cleaning schedule, right? So now they want to. They made this statement that really, I don't know that the people who have lost loved ones or who are suffering, I don't know that I would want to hear this at this time, because now they want to put together a food safety council. So you sell products all over the world, or at least in this country, right? Who is overseeing your other facilities? That's what I'm questioning. If now you're putting a food safety council together, what does the other facilities look like? I'm not too comfortable eating from Boar's Head again, because now the trust is gone. The trust of Boar's Head being like, that was like the number one brand. I don't even know if I could name another brand that sells lunch meat or deli meat. I can't name. Well, yeah, I can't name anyone off hand. If I go to the supermarket, you order your Boar's Head. I'm sure there's other brands, but I can't think of it right now. So I'll just read some of the statement that they put out, and this is dated September 13th. We regret and deeply apologize for the recent Listeria monocytogenes contamination in our liverwurst product. We understand the gravity of this situation and the profound impact it has had on affected families. Comprehensive measures are being implemented to prevent such an incident from ever happening again. Like, in the world of food safety, a company so big, there had to be somebody in charge. There had to be somebody to oversee that the facility was clean. And I've done a few YouTube videos about this Boar's Head debacle, and I questioned the USDA or whoever was coming to inspect their facility. They said within a year's period, they had 69 violations. Well, what I know is that I could not have operated my business with 69 violations. So there's that. So I think they should be held liable as well. Yeah. How do you find? Yeah, it just couldn't happen. It just couldn't happen to the average Joe. And like I said, they recalled over 7,000 pounds of deli meat. Go to the supermarket, go to the deli department. There's still pounds and pounds of deli meat from Boar's Head stacked. I will say, they're going to say it in their statement, but I will say that they have officially discontinued the liverwurst because that was the source of the Listeria. But yeah, spoiler alert. But anyway, since we implemented our voluntary recall on July 25th, 2024, we have been conducting an exhaustive investigation into how our liverwurst product became adulterated. So they say voluntary. So how really? Okay. That voluntary should be mandatory. Like who? So you had the option not to recall these products. We recognize you want and deserve answers and that you wanted them quickly, but we needed to take the necessary time to conduct an in-depth review and analysis of all our processes and procedures, not just at our Jarrett, Virginia plant where our liverwurst was made, but at all of our Boar's Head provisions meat production facilities. Now they want to talk about how throughout this process we work closely with the USDA and state government regulatory agencies, and we thank them for their oversight. Was it really oversight? That just baffles me, but we have also partnered with the industry's leading food safety experts to oversee this investigation. They have left no stone unturned at Jarrett. I mean, so who was the food safety expert before? There's no way you can have a facility that big with this company, a huge corporation like this. Well, it's a company, it's privately owned. So I think like two families own it, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, a business so huge that you produce all this meat that's being shipped all over, nobody's overseeing it. Like you have the means to come in, you have the means to hire somebody who can prevent such losses, right? Not just of your product, of life. You have the means to make sure that you hire people who can oversee your production, your facilities, your plants. First and foremost, our investigation has identified the root cause of the contamination as a specific production process that only existed at the Jarrett facility and was used only for liverwurst. With this discovery, we have decided to permanently discontinue liverwurst. I mean, I didn't eat liverwurst, but okay. In response to the inspection records and non-compliance reports at the Jarrett plant, we will not make any excuses. In the spirit of complete transparency, we are sharing with you the July 31st USDA notice of suspension received by our Jarrett facility. So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of it. Now they want to tell us how great the people are that they are hiring. They are appointing a new, which would indicate, I don't know if that's a new position or somebody's being replaced, but they're appointing a new chief food safety and quality assurance officer, reporting directly to Boar's Head's president. The company is recruiting now and aims to have this new executive begin as soon as possible. And it also establishing a Boar's Head Food Safety Council comprised of independent industry-leading food safety experts. You know, so now they just tell you like who they're hiring, and they have all these titles, and you know, like who did you hire before? Your cousin? Like this is ridiculous. And for you to take action, they're gonna pay. Now you're gonna pay for not only these employees, they are being sued. There are people have lawsuits out suing Boar's Head. And I guess for people, you don't see it in the news all the time. And maybe it won't harm them, right? Maybe it won't harm their brand. A sandwich is easy. You know, when you don't want to cook, throw a sandwich together. So yeah, that's that. That's that. So let me know what you think about Boar's Head. Will you continue to eat Boar's Head products? I will just go over some of the items, and I'll put a link to my videos that I did in YouTube But I'll just go over some of the items that were included. Actually, it was like 70 items that were recalled. But so I guess I'll tell you what wasn't recalled. Yeah, they have this in bold. What's not included in the recall. And that's the deli sliced turkey, sliced chicken, deli sliced roast beef, sliced charcuterie, deli sliced cheese, boar's head hummus, spreads, and Greek yogurt dips. Okay, now they just listing everything, but but it's definitely a PDF with 76 of their products that they have recalled. So that's Boar's Head, and that's how the big people handle it, right? Who's going to be held responsible? Nobody. So now in the reverse, right now we take this really large company. So now we're going to talk about the Houston-based Turkey Leg Hut. And what do I know about them? So I do remember when they started. I remember thinking the idea was so like, I grew up with eating big turkey legs, right? Because you couldn't find them any place. Now, I get the smaller turkey wing, but I remember eating turkey legs. So this is what they sell: these turkey legs, and I don't know. I guess they dress them up, what have you. But nonetheless, it's all a buzz that this Turkey Leg Hut, people come from all over to visit this restaurant. Line is always out the door. I've seen them I've seen them highlighted on TV. But always said when I get to Texas, Houston specifically, that I wanted to stop by there. I had a friend of mine visited there, and she said she wasn't so impressed. Yeah, and she's picky, but she said it was just okay. She didn't say it was horrible. She said the food was just okay. So she said she did go late at night, or as they were closing, maybe she went later in the evening, and she said she would be willing to try again, like earlier in the day, where maybe she felt like maybe they cooked the turkey too long. But nonetheless, she said the service was She said they hired a lot of young people, which is okay. I don't want to blame the young people, but I say all this to say that they have shut down. This weekend, they have shut down. Well, actually, it was so last week they were shut down by the health department, but on the Instagram page, it says that they are closed for renovations. They're closed for renovations. So they have 34 violations. 34 violations. And I actually want to just let you listen to this clip right here.
The Turkey Leg Hut has become an institution in the Third Ward over the past 3 years. There's usually a line down the block, customers waiting to get inside, but not today. We spoke with several people who came to the restaurant to eat this evening. It was the first stop for one group here on vacation from Nashville. They were disappointed to learn the restaurant was closed and shocked when they found out why. Tonight, the Houston Health Department tells us the restaurant was shut down by the agency yesterday for, quote, serious health code violations. The department says an inspection revealed 35 violations in total, including conditions that, quote, pose an imminent threat to public health. So far, the Turkey Leg Hut's ownership isn't talking about the violations. One customer today says he was told the restaurant was closed for renovations. That's also what is being said on Turkey Leg Hut's social media pages. There are several posts referencing renovations, saying the restaurant would stay closed through Sunday. But that's no guarantee, per the health department. The agency says the restaurant will stay closed until all of the violations are resolved through a follow-up inspection.
What I will say is, it is very hard running a business. I ran a pastry shop. On the weekends, we served brunch. So then we introduced a little food. But for the most part, we sold pastries and great coffee. It's very hard running a business. I can't even imagine where you have so much demand and your line is out the door. You can be overwhelmed. On the weekends, like once the brunch came for the shop, once we had our rush, so you are constantly moving. The restaurant business is not for the faint of heart. It just isn't. You have to have some stick to itness. So I do feel bad because I know it's hard to run a business. But what I also know is that we had to be prepared at all times to make sure that we were up to par in following the regulations put in place. I don't know what Houston has put in place, but New York, you knew that the health department definitely was going to come to give you an inspection, right? A yearly annual inspection. And when your year was up, believe me, they don't tell you, oh, we're coming this day. You made sure that you were on point, because no telling when they were coming. So I'm curious as to what the violations are that they had, because 34 is a lot. I'm just going to read from this article from the Houston Chronicle. Turkey Lake Hut's nearly 3 dozen violations included food such as crawfish, mac and cheese, fish, shrimp, red beans, and pico de gallo stored at improper temperatures, according to Fox. And this was a report. This report from Houston Chronicle is citing Fox, a station out there, one of their Fox stations. When I first learned food safety, they didn't have this term TCS foods. So TCS stands for time temperature control for safety and refers to foods that require specific temperature control to prevent the growth of harmful bacteria and toxins. TCS foods have a high potential for causing foodborne illness. And that's what Listeria is, a foodborne illness. Because you got sick because of the food, right? You got sick because of the food. So certain foods, so when they say their food wasn't being held at proper temperatures, I can't speak to how they ran their business, but you can't have food sitting out. I don't know if they serve the food with warmers. That food has to stay warm by a certain time or at a certain temperature for a certain amount of hours. You can't just have food sitting out. So I know in New York, you can just easily test the food when the health department comes in. They don't care. Like, it's supposed to be a certain temperature. So if they see like your milk can't just be sitting around, or, oh yeah, I was going to use the milk for something. If they come and test that milk, and let's just say it's at there's temperatures, we call it temperature danger zone, from 41 degrees and 135 degrees. In between that 41 and 135 degrees is is the temperature danger zone. And bacteria and toxins can grow, like they thrive in that environment. So if you came and tested the milk, let's say it was at 50 degrees, we may think it's okay, but it's not acceptable. So if they're naming these items, and once I'm going to go on their website. They said they hadn't posted it yet. I'm curious to see what all the violations were, as well as they said they said the floor was dirty. Other violations included the cleanliness of floors, ventilation issues, and controlling pests. This report here states that they may not even open back up because the owner filed for bankruptcy, but I'll let you listen to it. They can explain it better than I could.
Tammy and Len, we first got the tip about the health department Friday, and that they confirmed to us 35 violations, some of which were an imminent threat to public health. Now, we reached out again to the health department today to see if inspectors have been back out. No reply yet. Now, Turkey Lake Hut is normally closed on Monday, so there was no activity there today. We have obtained a copy of restaurant owner Nakia Holmes's Chapter 11 bankruptcy petition, where she estimates that the business's assets are at about $50,000. That was back in March. Chapter 11 would allow the business to continue under the management of a trustee. But because of the health department violations and other issues, today, the court-appointed trustee filed a motion to change proceedings to Chapter 7, which would liquidate the business. We took all that to our KHOU 11 legal expert this afternoon.
If the judge agrees with this, there is no more Turkey Lake Hut.
Correct. I think this business is probably going to see the end of its days as of this filing. It's unlikely the judge would not grant it, given the allegations that are being set out in this request.
A big issue, concerns with the pit room where all the turkey legs are smoked and, quote, without it, the restaurant cannot operate. Chapter 7 means that the business is shut down and all of its assets are sold to pay off creditors. According to our legal expert, typically bankruptcy court judges follow the advice of the trustee they appoint. All parties have 21 days to respond to today's filing. After that, the judge can rule. We will be staying on top of it.
So I think that is, I just hope they are able to recover. I hope that they are able to recover because like them, like Boar's Head, your brand is everything. So now that you have a reputation of having not only a clean place, right? Like your reputation is everything. It's a thing called brand reputation. So if your brand is saying that we're not, first of all, your social media is saying that you are closed for renovation. That's not true. So now how can you be trusted? Like I don't know that I would go there now, right? Because now you're putting out stuff that's not true. I don't know that I would eat Boar's Head again because, you didn't take precautions. You after violation after violation, you were able to continue to operate and no one seemed to care. So that's why I am a food safety fanatic because I know what food safety is. I know if not if you don't take precautions, people can get sick. So I take it very serious when in my restaurant, in my pastry shop, I took it very seriously. I don't want to make anybody sick, right? And I also think that training is key. A lot of times people get sick because yes, it could be some kind of bacteria from the animal. That is definitely possible. But it also can be human error. A lot of times foodborne illnesses come from humans because somebody didn't wash their hands or cross contamination or you mixed I don't know, you put the raw chicken on the same counter with I don't know, the salad. You're not sanitizing your station. You should be sanitizing every day. Every day, right? So I can't speak to what they had going on, but I just hope that they are able to recover as a business owner, right? They were very successful. So my heart goes out to them for that. That is it for our food safety talk. Let me know if this is something I could always dive into more food safety. Yeah, so we're not going to do a food safety tip today because that is the food safety tip. That is the food safety tip. So now it's time for my favorite part of the show, and that is our baking question. Because I love talking bacon and trying to give you guidance in terms of baking. I actually did a training this week, and I am showing people how to plan for the holidays. And the one lady said she sold cookie platters, and she didn't know how to. I asked her, well, how much are you selling? Are you selling a pound, 2 pounds? How many pieces? And she didn't know. So even though that's a baking question, it's a baking business question. So maybe I'll address that in the next episode. Okay, so this question comes from Sarah from Chicago. It says, Chef Sahera, why did my pie crust turn out soggy even though I followed the recipe to a T? Okay, so and this is a good question because the holidays are right around the corner. So there's a few ways that your crust can be soggy. For starters, it could be that your crust wasn't cooked long enough. So your crust could have been underbaked. That's one reason. Second reason is when you put your crust in the freezer. So I'm speaking from a fresh baked crust. But if you have the pie crust that you get from the store, I would still say that it probably you need to put it in cold, right? Because the fresh crust, we use a lot of butter in our crust, and you don't want that butter to melt into your crust, right? You want it to be cold in the oven so it can do what it needs to do. Let me ask you, Sarah, do you dock your dough? So docking your dough is just a matter of poking holes in the dough before you add your filling to it. And we do that so it doesn't rise up. I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I know that's what I recommend. Anytime you bake a pie crust, you should dock your dough. Depending on what you're baking, like if you do a pumpkin pie, some people blind bake their pies, and that is just kind of making sure the dough is, you give it a head start. And blind baking is you can put some pie weights in your unbaked dough and let the crust bake for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Or you can put some beans in there, line your crust with some parchment paper, put some beans in there, like dry beans, and stick it in there. But you want to start the process, especially if you have like a wet filling that is going to take a long time to bake. What that does is kind of create a barrier for your crust to the wet ingredients, right? If you just put that wet ingredient on top, you can, but like my pumpkin pies, I definitely pre-bake or blind bake my pie crust. So that it also depends on what kind of cake you're making, what kind of pie you're making. So try those things, Sarah. Let me know if that works out for you. I hope it does. So with that, your pie should be okay. And are you, like I said, are you cooking it long enough? That could be the issue too. So, well, that is it for this episode of Need to Know Pod. We have discussed food safety. So whether you are sending your product out all over the world, or you have a line wrapped around your door to your establishment, I think food safety is crucial in the culinary world. And, I would definitely say train your staff, right? Get people, it can't just be people who fill in for today or, young people. Everybody can be trained. And if they're not doing a job, then you have to replace them. But I believe keeping people safe, and you want to protect your reputation as the business owner. So also, we learned now that you might want to pre-bake your pie crust, dock your pie crust. I would definitely recommend docking your pie crust too, because if you don't, like I said, it would rise up on you. And I think that is it, guys. So if you have a baking question that you would like me to answer for you, submit your questions to needtoknowpod@gmail.com, or you can DM me and shoot me a message on any one of my social platforms, Chef Sahera Speaks. Thanks for listening to this episode of Need to Know Pod with me, your host, Chef Sahera. I would love if you would rate this podcast, leave us a review. We would definitely love a review of the podcast, as well as make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow us so you never miss another episode. Also, share it out to people. Share it to people and let them know what they need to know about Need to Know. You tell them they need to know about this podcast. As always, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in my next episode.
You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you.